I was going to post a different video, but I think instead I'll just wrap up this video series all about the different templates, because I've made multiple recording templates. I made the Big Daddy SSL mix template, so this is the mastering template. Now before I get started, I did want to talk about this. One part of mastering an EP or an album, even a single to an extent, is that you have to put all the tracks together in a sequence to assemble them. And T-Rax 5 from IK Multimedia has something that allows you, if you want to make a CD, for example, to create what's called a DDP. It's not really a file, it's a set of files that can be burned directly, not burned, but etched onto a CD master or parent. So that's a part of mastering. Figured I'd talk about it right here. It's a great little thing that's included in the T-Rax Max bundle, or whatever you want to call it, whatever it's officially called. I'm going to dive deep into that in a separate video, because there is one built into Reaper. It's been a while since I've done this. There it is, DDP. I actually have a video about this that I've already made, and you guys can check that out, where I essentially go through all these different tips, plus ones that I read on the different Reaper forums. Knowing how to make DDP.
Whack you with something.
Not the wrestler, but the suite of files is important with mastering. So with all that out of the way, let's talk about the different plugins that I personally use while mastering. And first of all, I want to say, no, you don't need every single one of these, because you can make a perfectly great master with free plugins, with the stock plugins. In fact, I recommend that, because you'll get a greater return on investment if you do that. I want you guys, whoever you are, because this is a dedicated channel for home studio engineers, and I understand that you guys are on tight budgets. These plugins I've gathered over the years, so I don't expect you to go out and get these unless you have a lot of money. If this is not going to break the bank for you, go right ahead. That's what these recommendation kind of videos are all about. But if you're looking for the nitty-gritty, the ones that I use more often than not, I will tell you which ones as I go through this video. Some of these plugins were purchased by myself. Other ones were sent to me via not for resale license. So I'll tell you which ones I bought, which ones I didn't. VTM I bought. So this is the first chain, the first mastering chain. So we have tape saturation. Helps with compression, helps with kind of rounding off the transients so that they sound good, but they're not too detailed, and things sound quote unquote more analog. And but mainly I like to use it as just a subtle form of compression and rounding off the high end. The next plugin is Cytomic, the glue. I purchased this one. The glue is essentially the SSL X-Logic Super Analog. It's an emulation of that, the bus compressor. So the bus compressor, I guess it could also be an emulation of the SSL 9000J and more modern SSL console quad bus compressors. Obviously, a compressor, it helps even out the level of whatever you throw at it, and what people call a gluing effect when you send all the tracks you have in the real world, a large format mixing console, when you combine all those tracks together and they're all compressing and the level is being adjusted on every single track, it tends to like make the track sound cohesive, glued together. You have to hear it to understand it. If you've already done this before, you know what I'm talking about. And these are the settings that I usually have on by default. Slowest attack, 4:1 ratio, fastest release or automatic release. Third plugin in line is an emulation of the GML
8200 Parametric Equalizer Series 2. It's a very good EQ. It's a very expensive EQ. They're $7 grand, so they're not cheap at all.
Fantastic equalizer, not just for mastering, but for tracks as well. This can get really surgical. It stays transparent. It's essentially a spin-off of the Sontec MES-432, and I just like it. I like it a lot. The second equalizer on the chain,
the Bax EQ by the Dangerous Music.
This one has a mid-range band as well, but the primary thing I want with this plugin is the low shelf and the high shelf. Black Box Analog Designs HG2, which some think that means Holy Grail with 2 channels, or Harmonics Generator. I'm not entirely sure, but what I do know is this plugin, it can take a mix that sounds what I would describe as flat. Flat, dull, just doesn't sound very high-end or hi-fi. You send your tracks through this, whether it's the plugin or the real thing up on Access Analog, and all of a sudden, what was, I don't want to say horrible, but what was once sounding like it was a part of the speakers now has what many people describe as a 3-dimensional quality to it. This is the one I prefer. So it's either this official plugin or the Diamond Dynamic Saturator from Acustica Audio / Studio DMI. Either of these plugins, excellent tube saturation, and transformers are in here too. It just gives you, quote unquote, that sound. Again, try it out for yourself. Check out the other user reviews for these plugins. They say the same thing as me. Okay, after that, we get some more tape saturation. By the way, if you already mixed your audio and one of your last plugins was tape saturation, you don't need this one. So you can get rid of that. But it does usually start with bus compression of some sort. And then a new one to my mastering chain. And this is going to sound a little silly. And no, this plugin, I'm not going to even recommend this plugin as a must-have. It's more of like, if you already have a bunch of crayons or colored pencils or paint, and you're like, you know, I want another shade of green, or I want another shade of red or yellow, what have you. If you already have enough plugins like compressors, equalizers, brick wall limiters, but you're just looking for one more thing that might just make your audio sound just a teeny bit better, maybe like 3 to 5% better, or just different, check out Daisy. The star of the show, the analog to digital converters, particularly the BMB, allegedly based off of the Burl B2 Bomber, which is a very high quality mastering converter. The DAC, less so. I mean, it's there if you want it, but the ADC is really what you're looking for. And then the main feature, decorrelate and drive. Very simple plugin. Oh, also there's some cool dithers built into it and all that, but again, not a must-have, but it's cool. Now, what I do believe is a must-have is the Ozone 11 plugin suite. I don't care if you get the Essentials, the Standard, the high-end one. Like, this is the advanced version, so it has all these different modules. But Ozone 11 and previous versions of Ozone. I've been an Ozone user since version 4. Okay? So Ozone 4, it's just become an essential mastering plugin. I really like the Maximizer. I really like the Stabilizer. I really like Master Rebalance. And I'm afraid if I add another one, my computer might crash. Yeah, Ozone 11 is absolutely an essential plugin for me. I don't want to not have it. I mean, I guess I could live without it, but I really don't want to. And it's one of the first ones I recommend. Like, Adam, if you could just have one mastering plugin, what would it be? Ozone. Ozone, absolutely. Okay, moving on. Now, here's another one that I definitely recommend. Is it an absolute must-have? Do you need it? No. Should you have it? Yes. Because it helps me when I'm EQing to make sure that my spectral balance is how it would compare to other music in the same genre. It's almost like having a reference track, which, by the way, Ozone has built into it. So this reference, you load in music that's already been made to compare it to your master right in the plugin. But going back to true balance, you pick your genre and away you go. I use this on every single master I do now. So thank you for... I want to say, Green 5 was an NFR. Bax Pro, NFR. This was free, but not an NFR. It was free because when Native Instruments bought out Plugin Alliance, they offered these for free. VTM I bought. Daisy was an NFR. I'm an Acustica Audio Street Team member, so pretty much any of their newer plugins, they send me a free license and I make a video about their stuff. I've been pretty bad about doing that, to be honest. I mean, I try to make individual videos about their new releases, and I just don't have enough time in a day. Like, honestly, because I don't want to release a bad video. Meaning, like, I don't want to release a video that doesn't really fully show off these new plugins. But I at least do talk about them. Ozone 11 was an NFR. True Balance also was an NFR. Youlean loudness meter. You can get the normal version for free. The pro version was an NFR. Okay. T-Rax, I just purchased this with my own money, so it was not an NFR. But ARC also purchased with my own money. Oh, I didn't talk about Youlean loudness meter. So loudness is definitely a concern with mastering for obvious reasons. And one of my favorite plugins, if not my favorite plugin for loudness, is Youlean loudness. You can choose all these different metering types. The one I normally go for music is EBU R128. But if you want to, go with one of these different ones, you go right ahead. Okay? Now, another one that I don't have loaded up because oftentimes it crashes, Reaper. I don't know why that started happening. Loudness penalty or whatever it's called. I'll just show it to you guys. I'm not going to load it up, but I'll show it to you. So loudness penalty from meter plugs. It used to work great. No crashes, nothing. But all of a sudden it started having issues. So it's not 100% broken, but it's broken enough that I can't show it to you guys without being concerned about crashing my computer. So, but I do like it. It's a cool plugin. It's accurate. I use it whenever I'm making videos for YouTube so that I try to nail the content loudness. I guess I could use Youlean, but I just like using that one. And yes, I did pay for loudness penalty. I'm going to go check out if they have a new version, actually. But another one, like I said, T-Rax. This one has a correlation meter, so it helps with stereo, making sure your mono compatibility is in there. There is a free one, Span, if it'll let me add this on here. I may have, see, I reached my maximum for the FLS slots. Not a problem if I had Windows 10, but anyway, final plugin, ARC3. It calibrates my speakers. It offers virtual monitoring, as they call it, so it emulates different speaker types. Very cool little plugin, now in version 4. I don't have version 4 yet. One day I might upgrade, but for now I'm happy with ARC3. And the MEMS microphone, very big upgrade. So that's a stereotypical mastering chain that I would be using. Let's talk about some other options, some other colors you might want to use. Now, first of all, I'm going to show you the mix bus. MixChecker Pro. Do you need this? Not necessarily, and this wasn't NFR, by the way, from Audified. I haven't talked about Audified's plugins in a while, but MixChecker Pro, I really like it. It offers more options than the ones built into ARC. So it's just another way to check out how will my music sound on different speaker types. Just to double check. ARC3, I already talked about it. Sienna. Now, instead of speakers being calibrated, your headphones. Now, they're not 100% calibrated, unlike Sonarworks, who I definitely recommend. So Sonarworks, you got the calibration of either your speakers or your headphones, and you can send your pair of headphones in to them, and they will do a personal calibration. Or you can buy headphones from them that are personally calibrated. Very cool little system. In fact, their newest one, which I really need to talk about Sonarworks' latest software, if it'll load up in Windows 7, SoundID. SoundID takes this concept even further, and it allows you to choose like how you perceive music to be, better, and then it incorporates that into the calibration. Very, very cool. And also in the newer SoundID, they have an add-on which lets you use virtual monitoring, just like with MixChecker Pro, ARC. Now back to Sienna. So Acustica have a free version of Sienna available, but I have the paid version, which I did pay for with my own money. This is not an NFR. And I like to use the Spitfire Stereo 800 with the subwoofer. Now, if you're going to choose that, make sure you go through the preset system over here. But anyway, what this does is it calibrates your headphones. Not your individual ones, obviously, but you can choose all these different headphone types. That flattens them out. And then the second part of the plugin is you have speaker and room simulations. Now, I will recommend, if I had it, Slate VSX. Slate VSX has a money-back guarantee. Although, yes, it's not 100% cheap, because those headphones you get are pretty darn good headphones. But normally you can get them on sale for either $300 for the base model or $400 for the platinum version. Slate VSX is what I would use if I had those headphones with me. But Sienna is cheaper. It gets the job done. And there's a free version of it that I can recommend to you guys. So all in all, it's a win-win. Sonarworks, again, I already talked about that. And then finally, True Balance and also True Level from Sonible. Oh, Sonarworks NFR. Forgot to mention that. So let's get to our next section now. First up, the channel strips. I already talked about Ozone. WINE. Actually, as I go through these, I'm going to delete them. So Ozone, absolutely recommend this one. I can't stress it enough how good this plugin is. You can use it for more than just mastering. It's just overall an excellent plugin. And, I mean, I've been using it since version 4, like I said earlier. WINE. Another NFR. Acustica basically put a bunch of different mastering equipment together in one plugin. And most importantly, they added something called euphonic. This euphonic control, I don't know, it does something to the audio that just makes it sound better. I don't know what else to say. But yeah, if you want something that has everything built into it, this is a good one. It has a resonance filter. It's got a Pultec built in. This is actually probably the best part of the plugin besides the euphonic, which is a tilt equalizer. Comes in handy. I think WINE is more something to use after the other processing you've already done as like the the last bit. Or it could be used first, and then you refine it for the rest. But because it does have a built-in clipper and limiter, probably best off to have this on the end. Alive is another thing that they added for the preamp. And don't forget, you do have 2 different modes. So, WINE, is it a must-have? Oh, this is a tough one. This is honestly a tough one. If you're just starting out and you don't have any third-party plugins and you're looking around for like, what's the one that Adam would recommend and the one that he does use? WINE would be it, but I would not recommend WINE over Ozone. Ozone is probably always going to be my #1 go-to plugin for mastering. So moving on. Many years ago, Celestial from Acustica Audio was a free plugin. So technically not an NFR. Everybody had access to getting this one for free. You can now get it in basically the formerly freebie pack from Acustica. I forget what they call it, but it includes Celestial, Series, Big Seal. Anyway, Celestial, a lot of people thought this was the SSL Fusion. I don't know. I honestly do not know. Acustica is mysterious like that, but this is another, I call it the all-in-ones or the channel strips, the mastering channel strips. It's a good one to have. A lot of people swear by the real one. Rupert Neve Designs, they have their own little thing, which Kive Audio. In fact, let me see if I can pull that up now that I got rid of a couple plugins. Nope, I don't have it anymore. Anyway, they have one that has the Rupert Neve Designs one, the Master Bus Transformer. But this one's the SSL one. So either get this one or try out the Kive Audio one. TRS-1 from T-Rex, IK Multimedia. Just got this in that $150 for a ton of plugins deal. I hope you guys didn't miss out. I did make like 3 or 4 videos about it. But T-Rex one, as you can see, it has built-in compression, EQ. It has a stereo widener. I don't know what the transients thing is, but you know, this is one I'm gonna have to probably make a individual video about, because I want to dig into this. Like, what is it actually good for? You know, so it's not 100% recommended. Although if you already have it because you bought into the deal like I did, it's worth checking out. Okay, lift. I already did a video about lift. High and low pass filter. It's got saturation. It's got a clipper, compressor, equalizer, mid side. It's got a lot of cool stuff built into it. Studio DMI plugin made by Acustica. NFR, I should mention that. Like I said, look, guys, every single plugin that I'm recommending you try out, I'm not saying buy it. I'm saying download the trial, see if you like it. If you don't think it's worth the money, skip it. Doesn't make a difference to me. I don't make a commission on any of these plugins unless you order through audio plugin deals whatever. But anyway, moving on. NoiseAsh, NFR, Stereo Finalizer, a part of the Palmary collection. Never made a video about this one yet, but it does have a lot of cool built-in processors. I did use the stereo width on a master. Is it a 200% by default? Really? Okay, well anyway, I really like the stereo width processor on this, and that's pretty much what I use this one for. Not a recommended one. Sorry, NoiseAsh. Just keeping it real. Home recording. Ha! Anyway, jeez. Laughed at my own joke. That's not good. Oh wait, I was supposed to keep this. I can't delete anymore, guys. In fact, I'm probably gonna have to go back and watch the video and add them back in. Anyway, Adam, there's another joke. Wah-ha-ha. All right, Green 5. Must have, yes, because I think it's more than just a mastering EQ. It is also for mixing. It's for getting a better audio quality at the recording stage. Like, honestly, I wish I had one of these for real for all its purposes. In some ways, it's a boring EQ, but it reminds me of like, kind of like an SSL 9000, but not really. like I said, it's more for cutting purposes than boosting. I mean, obviously you can use it for boosting, but that's what I would recommend it for when you really need to like notch out something or, you know, and make it an invisible cut. Like that's really what its strength is. And I'm assuming that's how the hardware is too. But anyway, another good one is Cherry. And I forget what this is based off of, but obviously it's based off of a nice piece of hardware. And it's very clean. It's a very clean, transparent sounding, but not boring equalizer. This one you can use for boosting, but it really shines on the low end. The low end shelf is probably the best part of this plugin. So if none of your other equalizers sound good for basting boost, for boosting bass, basting boost. I must be in a turkey kind of mood. But it sounds good on the other parts too, but it really shines on the low end boost. IK Multimedia, once again, the T-Rax. This is why I said, guys, you better get on that deal. Now, back last summer, there was like a $40 or $50 deal for the T-Rax plugins. And then the one that just happened, it was like $150 for all kinds of IK Multimedia plugins, including the T-Rax collection. And this is one of the plugins in that collection, based off the Sontec MES-432, which, like I said earlier, was originally what George Massenburg was a part of back in the day. So this is basically the older version of that, which some people swear by. They call it the Holy Grail of mastering equalizers. And yeah, I would say this one, and still is, I would say, one of my favorites. I mean, I hate to say it, but when Green 5 came out, pretty much took Master EQ's place. And I spent full price on this, $125 back in the day. But it was worth it. Let me tell you, it was worth it. Back in the day, got a lot of good sounding music out of this. And we'll continue to do so as well. But Green 5 is what I recommend over it, if you can scrounge the cash together. But otherwise, if you got in on the T-Rax deal, use the heck out of this plugin. Please. And don't forget it has a mid-side processor built right into it. Moving on. Okay, the NoiseAsh Need Collection. Highly recommended for the recording phase session, that I like to call it, because it gives you all these different plugins. And I don't know if I can load them up right now. If I can't, it'll crash. If I can, it'll load. I'm not sure. We're going to find out together. Okay, it looks like it worked. So, with the Need collection, you get the 1073, you get the 1081, you get the 1084, you get the Portico 5033, you get the 31102, which is the Neve 8068, I think, equalizer. If you don't know what all this stuff means, essentially, these are high quality recording console equalizers. Now you don't need to buy every single one of them if you don't have the scratch for it. But if you can, I really like what NoiseAsh did with these. But for mastering,
the Rupert Neve Designs 5033 Portico Series EQ module.
One other flavor. Is it a must-have if you already have the other ones? Nah. But if you're already going to get the recording ones, you may as well check it out when you're mastering. Not the first one I reach for, but it's there. All right, next up, Elijah MusicQ. I'm going to be doing a video very soon that compares this to the real hardware. The results so far have been interesting, and I'm going to say, number one, I wish I would have done the comparison a lot sooner, but assuming the hardware is on the up and up, this plugin, at least from what I got on my initial impression, it sounds a little cleaner, a little bit more digital. Ooh, I don't like using that word, but I have to. A little more digital than the real hardware, but at the same time, maybe I prefer the plugin. You guys are just going to have to find out when I put that video out there. Now, let me give you a recommendation. When mastering, I recommend having the warm feature off. But if you're going to use this plugin during either the recording or mixing phase, you might want to try warm on. For buses, I would probably keep it off, but for tracks, I would turn it on. All right, I talked about this earlier. This is the Baxandall design, very famous, where you can, really boost stuff and it still sounds good. Now there's a couple freebie plugins out there. We have Choral from Acustica Audio, free. We also have, if I can load it up, one of the first plugins I ever reviewed on this channel, also a freebie, Baxter EQ from Variety of Sound, still free. I believe they're taking donations now though. But I like the NoiseAsh version because it has the extra mid-band EQ. It also has this preamp, the tube preamp. There's two types of tubes. And you also now have a distortion drive control. I actually helped out a little bit on the development of this plugin, so I got a little bit of sentimental attachment. But even without that, like I said, guys, you want to try the freebies out, go ahead. I've been actually meaning to try out these two plugins against each other. Maybe eventually I'll get around to doing it. I've also been meaning to try Motown out against Acustica Rust, but haven't got around to doing it. So anyway, Motown Equalizer. There was a year, I think it was 2023, where all these different companies released their own Motown equalizers. And this one, basically I call it the fusion between an API equalizer and a Pultec. Because it's solid state, but it's also proportional. This is the one I recommend, NoiseAsh's version. So you can either get the Pro version, or you can get the one that is a little cheaper and doesn't have stereo, doesn't have the randomizer. Also, the main reason I recommend this is besides the fixed frequencies, you also can use this continuous frequency. So it's a little bit more versatile than the ones that are based strictly on hardware emulations. Let me reset that before I forget. And then I already talked about Ozone. Their low-end focus comes in handy to make sure your kick drum is not interfering with whatever bass instrument you have, whether that's a guitar, whether that's a synthesizer. Low-end focus. Cool little module. Let's talk about the compressors now for mastering. Now, I wanted to talk about this one because I got it for free during the Plugin Alliance giveaway. I gotta be honest with you, I'm not really that impressed. Maybe it's just something I'm setting incorrectly. I just don't like it. I don't like it. And yeah, it's called the mastering compressor. I don't like the Acustica audio version of this either. But I just figured I'd talk about it. Okay, another freebie, Analog Obsession Buster, based off of the SSL Buss Compressor. Like I said, it's free, or you can donate, become a Patreon member. Either way, check it out to use on your own masters. I don't personally use it, but maybe one day I'll try it out. Midnight is the Fairchild 670 and 660 clone emulation. There you go. The one that has the graphical user interface, the non-flat version is pretty cool to look at, but for mastering purposes at this point, I don't really care to look at the real hardware, approximations of them now. Just give me some knobs and let me pick and get a good piece of audio. I'm not saying go full Reaper UI, but this is cool enough. Plus the main thing is it gives me some visual feedback, so I know that I'm not overly compressing something. The glue, I already talked about this. SSL Buss emulation. Same deal. This comes with the T-Rax collection. Oh, I should mention the glue I paid for. Midnight was an NFR, not for resale license, freebie. T-Rax I paid for. Did I buy this plugin a long time? I know I had it before I had the T-Rax Max that I just bought like a week ago or whatever. This one is good. It's got a sidechain filter. It's got the grit, so you can either have like a clean sounding one or one that sounds more like the SSL 4000. Because it's different from the others, I like to have the grit on. And I have it set up with I call it the magic settings. Slow attack, fast release, or automatic release. And then I like to have the side chain usually set to either 60 or 150. And now we have another SSL Buss Compressor emulation. This one's more on the SSL 9000 side of things. Again, set to the magic settings. Good stuff, right? Do I recommend every single one of these? Nah. Fairchild's more of like a premium option. The glue. Yes, I do recommend this one. And if you want to get the T-Racks and save money and get a bunch of plugins all at once, I do recommend this one. Sand 4. To be honest with you, I recommend Sand 3, but not Sand 4. Sorry, Acustica. I did pay for Sand 3, so maybe I have some bias there. But Sand 3 actually has, the compressor on that one's good enough. Plus it has all the extra EQs. So if they basically would have revitalized all of Sand 3, then I would be recommending Sand 4. But must have. I'm saying it's not a must have. Because I have the other ones. VBC I paid for with my own money. Yeah, Slate Digital never became a real home recording partner, which is fine. I'm not complaining because Slate Digital makes really good plugins. Here's another SSL bus emulation, but with the virtual bus compressors collection, you also can get Focusrite Red 3 or a Very Moo, which is kind of similar to a Fairchild, kind of similar to a Manley Very Moo. Yeah, you get 3 compressor plugins in one. It's a shame they don't really have sales on their plugins anymore. But they do have the subscription. Tiger. Do I recommend this one? Ooh. I recommend that you try it out because you do get a lot of variety. Look at all that. The problem is, this one is not like the others where you get the saturation that comes with it. This is essentially like having a clean compression curve plugin. So, yeah, you get all these different types. And don't get me wrong, they're very cool. But they're not exactly like having the real hardware. Now, if you have a transformer or tube emulation plugin, just slap that one on before or after this plugin, you'll probably be perfectly fine. Oh. But Tiger is one that I have it as like a backup plan more than anything. And if you look at over here at the compression curve, as I go through these on the right side here. Yep. And also, it's not just for mastering. You know, Tiger is for mixing, it's for whatever, you know. Green 5, now if you buy Green 5 Ultra, this comes with it. Not one that I normally use, so honestly, I'm not going to recommend it. I'm going to get rid of it for that reason. And Midnight, ooh, this is a tough one. Fairchild I like to use more for like recording and mixing, so I'm going to get rid of that one too. Yes, I do recommend these. Except Sand 4. Well, Sand 4. I'll keep it. Why not? VBC. Probably keep it more just because I spent my own cold hard cash on it than anything. But nah, it's still a good plugin. Don't get me wrong. It's still a good plugin. Not my primary choice these days. Tiger. Check it out, I would say. 33609 from Red Rock Sound. Now, if you're on a tight budget, Red Rock Sound is a good solution. But I'll be honest with you, haven't tried it out enough to fully recommend it. Now, the T-Racks one, yes, in fact, I read a user review that said, I compared this to my real hardware, the Neve 33609 JD, and that user said it's hard to tell the difference. So if you're looking for like a different flavor, and again, you already bought the T-Racks collection, you may as well give it a whirl. Speaking of that, I was talking about the Manley Varimu earlier with VBC. Well, IK Multimedia made their own. Typically used for modern music. That's where I hear a lot of people say that they use this. Similar to a Fairchild, I guess. But whenever I've heard about it, I've heard people, number one, keep it on the soft setting. Hard is more for if you're using it on individual tracks. So on a mastering bus, we'll say, a mastering chain, use this on just like very, very little bit of gain reduction. That's been my recommendation from others. But there you go. You can use this on a bunch of different stuff. In fact, let's see what the preset for that is. Okay. This is one I'm going to have to do an individual video about because I'm very curious how it compares to the Access analog ones. Moving on, the good old distressor. I believe his name is Mark Valentine. He's a rock mixer. I think he even has a YouTube channel. Apparently he likes to use the stereo linked distressor for mix bus purposes. And why not? Put it on a 2-to-1, maybe even a 3-to-1 ratio. Keep it clean or not. Slow attack, fast release. Why not? Why not? If you already have the plugin like I recommend, because I really do like this, why not? Okay, next up, I already talked about the Focusrite Red 3 on VBC. Well, guess what? Zaffer has it too. Kinda, sorta. It's not really the Red 3. It's I think it's called the 430. I might have that one wrong. But anyway, it's the Focusrite mastering compressor. They don't sell these anymore. But anyway, Zaffer has it. It's a good alternative to the SSL Buss Compressor. If you're sick and tired of using that, or you're sick and tired of using the Manley Varimu or a Fairchild, check this one out. You might like it. Finally, Sunglow. Here's one a lot of people didn't expect. So Sunglow, obviously it has the Trident EQs in it, which is pretty cool, but that's not why I'm recommending it. Oh no. I'm recommending it because allegedly, because Acustica Audio, they don't even tell me what they're emulating. Allegedly, this is based off of the Smart C2, the Allen Smart C2, which itself, when it was released back in the year 1998, or maybe even 1997, it was based off of the Solid State Logic Bus Compressor. At that point in time, SSL, I don't think, had released a rack-mounted version of their Quad Bus Compressor, the Quad Bus Mix Compressor. So the C2 was the very first time you could buy one of these, to my knowledge. So it's similar to the SSL, but not exactly. And it's built into Sunglow. But I'm not going to have this on the absolute recommendeds. Zaffer, I haven't tried out enough to fully recommend it. So I think this is like my narrowed down list. Again, try out. Do not buy without trying. And don't buy every single one of these. You don't need them like I do. Again, this is just... I've been doing professional audio now since technically the year 2007, but it was such at the end of the year. So I always say 2008, because that's when I did my first full album of mixing and mastering. And over the years, I've accumulated all these different plugins. Moving on to the saturators for mastering. Talked about this earlier, but the Black Box HG2. It could be harmonics generator. It could be Holy Grail. I don't know. But it is a great sounding saturator because it either thickens up the low end if you got a thin sounding mix or master, or it adds some nice high mids and I guess to an extent the high end too, but it adds presence with the triode. Okay, so the low end, the low mids are the pentode, triode, and some nasty saturation. This is more for, I would say, like mixing, but and in fact you got to turn that on if you're going to do that. But anyway, great sounding. I can't recommend this enough, and the user reviews are just countless because people Love this plugin, and so do I. But I also like the Diamond Dynamic Saturator from Acustica Audio, which I believe at least part of this plugin is based off the HG2. Okay? And don't forget to turn off these crossovers, because that can mess your sound up. But there you go. Good for more than just mastering. But if you don't have the scratch for it, this is usually a lot cheaper. Actually, let me keep those both on there. Next up is a newer plugin. I already talked about this one. It emulates mastering converters, the ADC or the DAC. And it sounds silly, but try it out. You might like it. Try it out. I'm telling you, try it out. You might like it after all. And don't forget to go through the presets. It's a good way to, get a quick idea of whether you like this plugin or not. Fire the Blend. This is based off of Wine. It comes with Wine, actually. Not the drink, but the plugin, WINE. But anyway, the euphonic control. Similar to Daisy, I would say. It just does something to audio that makes it sound better. I don't understand why. I don't understand. It doesn't matter. It just, there's something about this. Oh, I don't know why it's doing that, but Acustica, what are you guys doing? Anyway, I should probably make a video just about this, shouldn't I? Trying it out on different masters. Maybe I did already. I can't. No, I did talk about Wine. I can't remember if I made a video about Fire the Blend, though. Anyway, moving on. Fire the Jam. This is saturation. Lots of different saturation. So, yeah. Good stuff. Oh, I should mention, I told you guys earlier, got this one for free when Plugin Alliance was sold to Native Instruments. This one was a freebie. Daisy was a freebie. Fire the Blend was a... when I say NFR, I meant to say that. So NFR, 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 NFR. Not an NFR. So Louder Than Liftoff, Silver Bullet, got it on sale. I think it's like permanently on sale now for like $40. Anyway, got it on sale. But what is the Silver Bullet?
When you plug a microphone into an audio interface and capture direct-to-DAW recordings, they can sound very cold and sterile. This is because the signal doesn't pass through multiple hardware components as it would when recording through an analog console. Silver Bullet provides the same type of varnish as a 2-channel analog console, but in the box. Engineers who own the hardware version of the Silver Bullet Mark II typically apply it to their stereo bus to sweeten their mixes. That's what this plugin is primarily designed for.
It combines the transformer sound of an API console, a Neve console, a solid-state logic console, all into one plugin. There's a bunch of other stuff it does too, but that's the primary purpose. It's a saturator. It kind of does a similar thing to what the HG2 does, but it's a little different. And because I already have this plugin and use it on tracks and use it on instrument buses, I have it also for masters, for mastering, I should say. Also has equalization, also has this aspect ratio thing that you may or may not like. Has some ability to make some lo-fi. All in all, great little plugin. I also recommend going through the factory presets. Okay? Good stuff. Reamp. Now, if you're on a budget, if you're on a tight budget, and you want a saturation plugin, but you can't afford the other ones for some reason, I get it. Check out Klanghelm Reamp. Do I recommend this one 100%? Nah. And I mean, I have it as like, again, like another color to choose from. But I'll keep it on there for now. Now here's one I don't 100% recommend, but I have it. I've been meaning to make a video about it. It is an Aphex exciter, APHEX. It's basically an EQ without being an EQ. That's the best way to put it. It's complemented by the bass enhancer. Let me pull that one up if I can. Actually, that is the name of the plugin. So this is like the big bottom, and this is the exciter. These plugins are one and the same. But yeah. Again, not a 100% recommendation, but it is affordable. I did buy this one. I was a subscriber to the Red Rock Sound. They used to have a Patreon, actually. And every month I would get a new plugin from them. So, but yeah, good stuff. T-Rax, I bought this one. This is based off of the Revox 99 something or other. It's a tape machine, obviously. And this one is based off of, I forget. I'm sorry, but I can't remember. But it's like a lo-fi tape machine. Best way to put it. So, I don't know why I have this on here. Oh, I meant to have this loaded up. Virtual Mix Bus. Kind of similar to the Silver Bullet, but not exactly. This one lets you pick from 2 SSLs, an API, a Neve, a Trident console, or an RCA tube console. Don't use it as much these days, but I did buy this one with my own money. So for mastering purposes, probably API or Trident or RC tube, but usually something I put on the mix bus, not something for mastering. So in fact, I'm probably gonna delete it because I already have I have Louder Than Liftoff Silver Bullet now. Finally, the virtual tape machines. This is one I still use quite often. Now for the master bus, for mastering I should say, 1/2-inch tape machine, FG9, 30 inches per second or 15 inches per second. Although nowadays, I do lean more towards this plugin. But both of these are good. So I do recommend, VTM has been a mainstay in my collection for a long time. So yeah. It's time to wrap this video up with the last 2 sections, brick wall limiters. First of all, this is one I haven't talked about in a while, but Smart Limit from Sonible. Great plugin. Intersample peak limiting is spot on, and it's just a great overall clean, transparent sounding limiter that I definitely recommend. Now, one of my longtime go-to brick wall limiters is Ozone's Maximizer. I started with version 4, which featured the IRC2 Maximizer. But ever since then, it's just gotten better over the years. So what I use nowadays is more either IRC4 Modern or IRC4 Transient. Now the only problem I've run into with Ozone 11, used to be able to type in 1 down here, and it would go into negatives, but you got to type -1. But anyway, it's not that big of a deal. The biggest thing I would say is Mbit plus dither. I love it. It's my favorite dither type. I know it's not like a huge deal that much anymore because don't really make CDs like I used to, but when I need to, you know, on the rare occasion, that's what it's there for. I mean, I'll still use the 24-bit one just for fun, but anyway, next up, just got this one with the T-Rax bundle, Stealth Limiter. I think I reviewed this a long time ago, and I really liked it. And on my latest master, this is the one I used. Number one, I had possession of it, and I'm like, well, let me see if it's as good as I remember it. Absolutely is. Very easy to use. Its intersample peak limiter is also quite good. Couldn't tell you about the dithering, but like I said, overall, very similar to an LA2A or LA3A. In fact, I'll call this the LA3A of brick wall limiters because it's that easy to use. Actually, this would probably be the easier one to use, but maybe not as good. Best way to put it is it's not as transparent as the others that I've already mentioned. Good thing is you can make it bigger nowadays. In fact, I need to update this, I think. There's probably an update for this. I'm at version 1.45. I'm curious if there's any available. Anyway, the great thing about LoudMax, it's free. But you can donate. I've donated. You should too if you use this a lot. It's much more than just a brick wall limiter for masters, but that's my primary usage. One that I really need to review, or at least demonstrate, because it was an NFR, Lace. Lace is supposedly a great brick wall limiter that's based on hardware compressors. Well, I guess we'll see. But anyway, I have it on here to show you guys that it exists. But realistically, there you go. Smart Limit was an NFR. Ozone 11 was an NFR. This I purchased myself. Freebie, but I donated. And FG-X2 was a free upgrade, but I did buy FG-X. In fact, I bought the CD or DVD version of this. Yes, at one point you could buy this on CD or DVD. Not anymore, I don't think. So I have a collector's item, I guess. But yeah, FG-X2. I don't use this personally. Never really tried it. I should have reviewed it. Again, there's just so many plugins that come out. So anyway, FG-X, I'll get rid of it for now, but there you go. And then moving on to the metering. So we got Youlean. I already talked about it. Already talked about T-Rax. This one is pretty cool, although you don't, it's free. What's the best way to put this? It's a cool plugin to have as a visual if you're into that kind of thing. But if not, then you don't really need this plugin. So I'm just going to get rid of it for now. Ozone Master Rebalance. This thing works miracles. What else can I say? I don't know how it works, but somehow, if you need to get your bass or vocals levels just a little less or a little more, perfect. Perfect for that usage. Ideally, you have stems, or ideally the mix is better. But if you don't have access, this is a second best thing, I guess. Drums can be hit or miss as far as volume and all that, but vocals and bass definitely, those two are good. All right, I just wanted to show you guys one more example of like different kinds of mastering change. Actually, two more examples. So we have the TIAC A1600 Mark II. From IK Multimedia. Not an NFR. Did I talk about the NFRs with this one? Hold up. NFR, not NFR, NFR. That means the company sent me a license to check out the plugin. All right. Not an NFR. I'm going to try to use this. I have not used it on an actual master that I've worked on and released, but I do want to try it out. I think I talked about the Tascam tape collection. If not, I'm going to have to make a demo video with it. I could have sworn I made one. Anyway, I have it now. Black Box was a freebie, but not an NFR. This one also I paid for. I talked about that before, but I paid full price for this plugin. I wanted it that badly. Yep. So yeah, tube tape machine plugins, followed by a saturation, I should say, a tape machine plugin, followed by saturation, followed by an EQ. The order doesn't necessarily matter up until the brick wall limiter, which the brick wall limiter should be the last plugin you use. So I got stealth limiter. This is basically the T-Rax plugin chain. True balance is cool. You know what? Wait a minute. I think isn't there a at one point you could choose what music genre? Oh, there it is. Yeah, there we go. So under the cog wheel icon, choose target. Let's choose rock music. And I'm assuming that this loudness meter here will give me an idea where I want it to be. Let's change it to classical. We can't. There's no classical setting. Well, anyway, looks like that changed. So, yeah. Anyway, is it as good as Youlean, though? Probably not. And then finally, Sienna for monitoring. Although I probably should have. Why didn't I have ARC here? I mean, that is IK Multimedia's plugin, right? So, anyway. Cool. And I'll go back to that. One more plugin chain. So we got louder than liftoff. Right? Louder than liftoff for saturation. Then we got Buster for compression. Then we got Elysia Music EQ. Then we got the Neve Portico 5033 for equalization. K-clip for clipping. Didn't really talk about clipping too much, but yeah, clippers are like all the rage nowadays. Let me think about this. Ash. I have Ash. Oh, I don't know if I can load these up. Okay, there it is. It worked. So either this one or this one. This is the Acustica Audio Clipper. But that's another one I haven't really tried out in depth to make a video about. K-clip, easy to use once it loads up. I also have the original version of this, version 2 I should say, but they don't have a VST3 out for that, I don't think. Let me double check. Nope, still VST 2.4. I guess it's never going to be VST3 at this point. And then what else? Smart limit. Yep, already talked about that. Already talked about Loud Max. Already talked about True Balance. Yeah, all these I've already talked about. So you guys get the idea. Pick and choose which kind of colors you want to make your painting with and be happy. I already talked about the mix bus as well. So, but yeah, that's the tools I'm using to get the job done. Hopefully I'll be having more credits to my name this year. It's not going to be hopefully. It's going to happen. Because I'm tired of people saying, those who can't do, teach. Well, I do both. I teach and I do. So anyway, with that vow in mind, have a good day. This has been Adam for Real Home Recording.